All right. Another week, NFL Ski Show. It's me, David, and Carl from Thigh and Smy podcast, the ever wonderful Carl, week to week, joining me. Um, Carl, I don't know about you. Sometimes, even with how much I love football, it's kind of unrealistic and unreasonable to watch every game. I'm not one of these
Oh, yeah.
guys with the four TV setup where everything's going all at the same time, but I'm going to proudly say I watched every single playoff game this weekend from start to finish. How about you?
I watched the majority of them. I think I released an episode on Sunday night on the channel, so I didn't get a chance to watch the beginning of the Buccaneers game. And then I had a friend over who is a Packers fan during the Packers game, and he got so
Wonderful.
frustrated. He's like, "Oh, let's go get food. Let's go to the game store." So didn't get to watch that in its entirety either. But I watched a lot of football this weekend, man.
Cool. You should have strapped him to a fucking chair with a belt and made him watch with like orange clockwork orange eyes and made him watch that shit. That would have
In
been a
my
good
opinion,
Bears fan
I'll
of you.
I'll call him a fake-based Packers fan. I think he likes the Packers because he lives in a state where it's primarily Bears fans, so he just wants to
Oh,
be the contrarian. And I don't know if he follows it as closely as like either of ourselves, of course. But he essentially told me that he knew the Packers would lose as the game was starting, and lo and behold, thankfully, that's what we got.
yeah. I've known many contrarian Packers fans in my life, and they're just the worst because they barely know football and they just like to piss everyone off. But I digress. I'm sure your friend's a nice guy, but
Yeah.
fuck his Packers. So sweet. All right, man. Yeah, we'll kind of lead off into maybe a little bit of a review on each game, kind of talk about the team and the state of the team from after that. Address some of that league wide news about I think the coaching search as it's going and a little bit of those fun stories. And we can kind of just yell at each other over how funny those are. But otherwise, yeah, we can go there, finish up with predicting next week, and go from there. Um, I believe you have it written down. I know I do. If I'm correct, the only game we really got wrong, or I got wrong this week, was unfortunately the first game that we'll talk about: Houston versus LA. MS, thanks, dude. Thanks for anytime you're in. If you're watching through Thigh and Smy, we'll still be able to interact and chat. This is being simultaneously casted to Thigh and Smy as well as Bearski. So feel free to support whichever channel you feel like watching on. We don't mind either way because partnership and all, and we appreciate we appreciate anybody watching on either network. So
Yeah, yeah, Ant Mess, I appreciate you, buddy. Full disclosure, I can see all of your comments on both sides. I just can't put them up on the screen. But I appreciate it either way.
oh, I'm sorry, Carl. Yeah,
And
Carl.
like Dave said, beautiful time to mention it's being simulcasted. So if you're watching on one of the channel, I don't see why you guys shouldn't at least check out the other channel. See what you like. If you come to a conclusion where you like the content, leave a like on the video, subscribe if you want to. It's always good stuff, man.
Yeah, absolutely. So Houston versus LA. I think we both had LA on that one. Unfortunately, I don't think it worked out the way we expected it to. Some of my overall glaring things is I think the Chargers will be just fine in a year or two. Um, but I think the glaring lack of skill position players was evident. However, the team wasn't necessarily struggling in the trenches. Like, it's just a well coached Jim Harbaugh team with a little bit of under talented, but he squeezed that rock into diamond or what is it? He squeezed some water out of that rock as much as he could. I think this was a bonus year for LA. So I don't think they're kicking themselves too much about losing that game. On the Houston side, pleasant surprise. I think Houston sucks. Um, I still don't like them. I still something about CJ Stroud's face. It's the meme of the guy with the baby. Just look at his dumb little face. I just want to punch him in his face. And I'm not a Stroud boy. I don't know if you're a Stroud boy, but
Dave, where did CJ Stroud go to college?
oh, that's right. You absolutely despise the Stroud boys. Yeah,
You're on
Ohio State.
NFL ski. We connect the dots here, so you got it.
Yeah. No, we officially denounced CJ Stroud and the Stroud boys. But yeah, I just don't believe in Houston. I don't know what it is. I have a gut feeling they're gonna beat Kansas City next week. That'll get into our previews and stuff. But just if we talk about at the beginning last week about our kind of favorites moving forward through the playoffs, I'm a Bills fan, kind of rocking it out till the end. We have our preferences, but yeah, Texans are not going to be a team I'm rooting for moving forward. How about you? How do you feel about the game?
The Texans were a huge surprise, and I think now is a good time to squash what's going on in the world of Justin Herbert, right? Emmanuel Acho just absolutely after, he's trying to avoid the Joy Taylor allegations by just going full end of the spectrum, just bashing the social media quarterback, right? No, Justin Herbert's a fantastic quarterback, okay? The Bills were able to stymie the Chargers' run game. Really not too surprised at the end of the day, but I was surprised at the All-Pro Stingley Jr. and that cast of players on the Texans' back end. They were really able to capitalize on any sort of mistake. A little tiny overthrow to little lad McConkey, that's 6 points back. Okay, well, now you're down 2 scores in the end of the playoff game. You have to throw the ball. Now we're throwing meaningful footballs to Will Dissly. They're coming off his hands, and they're being returned for touchdowns. That doesn't mean that Justin Herbert sucks, man. So what does suck about that game is that now, maybe not for Bears fans, Khalil Mack is either A, going to retire, or B, probably leave on free agency. I don't think that the Chargers can continue to recycle his, very expensive contract for the production. Again, Pro Bowl player, Khalil Mack's great, but they're going to have to figure something out. The only silver lining maybe for them is that they are just low enough in the draft order now, potentially, to win the Ashton Genty sweepstakes.
I knew you were going there.
So, again, good buddy Adam Mason. If Ashton Genty goes to the Chargers, we have an unofficial, back channel conversation bet that Ashton Genty will equate for 2,000 all-purpose yards for that team, because that's what they're missing, man. Again, Michigan bias here. Jim Harbaugh's offense literally defeated Penn State by running the ball in the second half 35 straight times, something to that effect. They've got a good second running back, whether that's going to be, is it J.K. Dobbins? They've got Gus Edwards, even the legendary Hassan Haskins from Michigan. He's a capable running back too, in my opinion, but they need that alpha. They need that Blake Corum. Not that Blake Corum is a world beater in the NFL, but in college he was. So they need a really true good running back to be able to take that team over the top. And then just fill in your pieces, get an outside wide receiver in day 2 of the draft, and that team will be as competitive as any team in the NFL, in my opinion, next year.
I'm with you. I think the Justin Herbert conversation is annoying, and I mean, we're not big enough to where I can't just reference these guys. It's not like they're competition. Like, I was listening to part of my take, and they just had like a great reference where most people are just on one side of the fence for Justin Herbert or the other, and both people are wrong, right? It's that Justin Herbert is not a top 5 best quarterback in the league. Maybe he's good. Look, man, I'm not going to sit here and like smash Justin Herbert because I'm a fan, but
top
I acknowledge
5 talent at the peak, but it's
absolutely
hard to get there.
Agreed. And there's always just something about him that he just makes a silly mistake or whatever. And at the end of the day, that's kind of what's going to hold back good to great, right? It's that little bit of limitation to make you not top 5. I love Justin Herbert. I even argued back 6 months ago, if you would first pick Caleb Williams for Justin Herbert straight up, if you didn't do that, I think you were an idiot, right? Because I think the ceiling of Caleb's potential may be higher than Justin Herbert's. We'll find out in a few years. But I've always loved Justin Herbert. I think he's like a top 5 talent. But anybody who says that he sucks is also wrong. So I think we're just going to need to wait and see on Justin Herbert. I think they're still lucky to have him. And I think the pieces for LA, I was going to call him San Diego, I think it's one of those few times in the NFL where, like a team like the Bears, we're always going to reference the Bears, that's dangerous, man. You've got skill positions everywhere, but you need to nail it with offensive line and you need to nail it with defensive line. Those are risky drafts to overnight success fix your team. I could easily see them adding some talent in the offseason, LA wise, and you could just easily see that team being explosive, talented. What, like you said, Ashton Genty. If I know they're not going to get T. Higgins, but you throw T. Higgins on that team, and that whole wide receiver room looks totally different. Maybe Keenan Allen goes back, which he's openly said. I think the 2 teams he would like to play for next year is either Chicago or LA. So like that would even increase, a little bit their ceiling as well.
Let me drop a little nugget in there, too. There's a couple of things, some really good things you just mentioned. So I'll start with Keenan Allen, okay? I think that the Chicago Bears would be much better allowing Rome Odunze to have the production as far as targets of Keenan Allen, okay? Have Rome Odunze either be the number one most targeted or joint most targeted with DJ Moore, and then have a player that's on the Chargers currently, Josh Palmer, just play his role to the best of his ability in a wide receiver 3 role. And conversely, the Chargers are not going to win a Super Bowl with Josh Palmer as their second best wide receiver option. I know Quentin Johnston's coming on late, but he's just, a drop waiting to happen. They need that alpha number one wide receiver, or at the very least a 1A to spell Ladd McConkey. So I think that Keenan Allen going back to the Chargers wouldn't make them an immediate Super Bowl contender, but it would really help, and I would think it would be so cool if Keenan Allen went one way, Josh Palmer went to the Bears in another way. And then you mentioned T. Higgins. I'll mention another name, Trey Smith. Maybe, just maybe, the Chargers and a lot of the Raiders fans in my comment section in the past few days on my channel who have been abusing me downright, they are saying, oh, let's get Trey Smith from the Chiefs to, addition by subtraction, right? But these two names, T. Higgins, Trey Smith, they are being linked to the Patriots, who have a brand new head coach who's fantastic and a lot of cap space. So at the end of the day, these guys, T. Higgins, Trey Smith, they are going to be very, very wealthy men when all things are said and done.
Yeah, and I think I've always liked this theory of kind of with trickle down talent and how the roster kind of shapes out with a position like wide receiver. You throw an alpha 1A in there, and it takes a guy who was forced to be a 1A to be a 2B, which is his natural position. You're basically upgrading your entire depth chart of every receiver by just sliding guys down. Like some of them are just overplaying their position and don't need to be there. Josh Palmer as a 3, like you said, way better than like a 1 or a 2. Quentin Johnston does not need to be an X and a 1. That guy's a slot or a backup, right? At best. So yeah, I think we're not worried about them. Talking about the winners though, because I think the losers are getting a little bit too much attention. And we got a nice Texan fan over here.
Yeah, I wanted to shout him out, man. Trevon Moses, welcome to the channel, man. Or
yeah,
the
absolutely.
Show.
Yeah. Congratulations and good luck against Kansas City. I think at worst, it's going to be a 50-50 rooting for me because I don't want Kansas City to repeat. Not a huge Texans fan in terms of wanting them to win it all, but I think they're super talented. That defense is all-star level. It's just top 5 defense coming into the playoffs right now. They're really, really deep. They're playing really, really well. D'Amico Ryans is coaching them up really, really well. So I think that's where I like this kind of team in the playoffs. They're sneaky good because they have the defense. They're going to get like some splash plays with that, get the ball turned over. And Joe Mixon was, I think, one of the best pickups of the offseason. I think good teams can take the luxury of going out and getting an elite running back and upgrading that position really, really well. I think a team like the Bears spending money like that is really, really foolish. I think you're much better off with a running back by committee at a young, low level. But good for the Texans. I think Joe Mixon's a great pickup. Nico Collins, I feel bad for him just because he's having to pull so much weight all on his own at this point with Tank Dell being out, with Stephon Diggs being out. But they might have just enough juice to go over the Chiefs, but we'll get into that in previews. But I'm glad for the Chiefs. I'm glad for the Texans. They're a good team. I think they might be another year away, too, of just a little bit of reshuffling and retooling. But at least they haven't lost any draft picks with getting here. And, they're on the upswing for sure.
And Nico Collins, the University of Michigan legend, he's used to kind of pulling his weight. I know that his receiver core that he played with at maybe his last few years at Michigan was not terrible, but he was probably the best player. He was only able to muster himself into a third-round draft pick, but he's got a good quarterback throwing him the football now. So that's an excellent combination. Last year, I thought that it was C.J. Stroud maybe elevating Nico Collins. I think it's very evident at this point with C.J. Stroud's kind of sophomore slump. They're elevating each other, man. It's a special team. They'd be so much more... I would be not favoring them, but I would be making sure that I wipe my calendar, make sure I've got nothing going on when that Chiefs-Texans matchup is happening, if they had both Stephon Diggs and Tank Dell. Because that would be
what a game.
A really, really fantastic matchup, in my opinion. And I don't think there's anyone on the Texans' defense that's hurt and gone forever. I know we talked about Azeez Al-Shire and what we think about him, but he's back. He had a good game. Their defensive line, man, kind of like we'll talk about the Bills in a little bit about that fourth quarter NASCAR package pass rush. The Texans have something special with their ends, as well as a sneaky good former Chicago Bear, Mario Edwards Jr. That guy, when he's not doing juice and getting roided up, he's a fantastic football player as well, man. So it's going to be a good game. If we're talking about the outcome of next week, I don't give him a rat's ass of a chance. Michigan bias aside, I mean, prove me wrong, C.J. Stroud. Go into Arrowhead and knock off the king, man. That's
Yeah.
that's all. That's all you got to do.
Last comment on the Texans and just specifically for Trayvon Moses, because I love having a fan from a different team listening to us. Um, they kind of followed a similar path to the Bears. They did a much better job with it because I think they just have a better infrastructure and a better coaching staff. But they did build a little bit outside in, where if they were comparing these trio of receivers to a Bears trio of receivers, and they kind of neglected the offensive line a little bit, which worries me moving forward. So as long as the Texans do a similar draft style as the Bears do and just kind of go all out for interior linemen and doing all that stuff, I think they'll be just fine, and we'll see them in the playoffs for a few years to come, especially if CJ Stroud has a bounce back in year 3, because as of now, I mean, he might have plateaued rookie year. So let's hope he kind of bounced back and just keeps being like a top 5 quarterback. Carl, I'll let you break down Steelers Ravens. That was probably my second favorite game of the week. So how'd you feel about it? What'd you think?
Favorite from the sense of just kind of vindication. I knew that the Steelers would get bounced on the trot 4 in a row, make it 5 in a row. Game was over at halftime. It was never really competitive. I know that Mr. CTE poster child, Mr. George Pickens, was able to have that fantastic catch, walk into the end zone. But overall, man, that game was not boring, but it just didn't feel competitive whatsoever. It's gotten so, in my opinion, it got so bad, and I know the big media will kind of overblow this, but it got to the point where we're talking about letting Tomlin walk or trading Mike Tomlin. Like, that's how bad that game went. From the Ravens, 28 points, maybe they let their foot off the gas. It was still good from them, but it almost felt like they left a lot of meat on the bone, man. I feel like they could go for a lot more. We talked about maybe their wide receiver Zay Flowers playing or not playing. He actually didn't play, and in the broadcast I remember a comment they said they have no idea what his status will be moving forward. I don't know what the status is. I could try and check their Twitter and see if there's something there that they're reporting, but if they have to pass the ball to win the game, who are they going to end up playing? They're going to Buffalo, right?
Yeah.
It's going to be a hell of a matchup, man.
The two AFC games are mind-blowing right now.
I disagree with the Texans. I wouldn't call it mind-blowing. It's still a good game, but
Really?
we're talking about the two MVP frontrunners at quarterback playing against each other. Like that's as good as it gets, man.
Yeah, sometimes you end up getting a matchup early in the playoffs that's basically better than the Super Bowl, and this might be one of them, right? I don't know. I'm dubious on how good the Chiefs are going into this week, and I think maybe the Texans are going up, but we'll talk that through. Yeah, with the Ravens, I could not agree more. You said it perfectly. Meat on the bone, lots of meat on the bone. Lamar looked good. He looked a little bit more relaxed than he did in previous playoffs. He kind of looked like regular season Lamar, which is very rare to see because there's a very distinct difference when you see playoff Lamar and regular season Lamar for some reason. But Derrick Henry carried the load, carried that game basically by himself, which again is a net positive. But you need Lamar Jackson to just absolutely ball out in one of these games, and unless he's saving it for the Bills game, because right now I don't think Lamar had 175, 2 touchdowns, no picks, luckily, and then he had 81 yards on the ground. I don't think that gets it done against Buffalo. I think he needs to do a lot better than that against Buffalo to kind of compete. So, like you said, meat on the bone. But if that's peak efficiency for Lamar against a Pittsburgh team that you said looked defeated and broken, maybe they left their foot off the gas. Maybe that's why, right? They didn't show everything they needed to. But what I saw from the Ravens was kind of what I expected, and the Steelers were an absolutely wet fart. So vindication for you. I think that Steelers game was a total perfect microcosm of their season where Russ just kind of underperforms as he should. Pickens lost his mind and just didn't really care. Fields was Fields, and Tomlin kind of relied on the defense without really making the defense look special. So, yeah, I think the game wasn't surprising. I guess why it was my favorite was there was just so much on the line. And like you said, even the aftermath now, Tomlin talk about getting traded, Can't wait to see Aaron Rodgers in a Steelers uniform. So I think it's just an
I
interesting
got a
kind of
nugget on that.
perspective.
I got a nugget on Mr. Aaron Rodgers when we'll talk about the Monday night game. So little teaser
sure.
for everyone there. But
Yeah. Anything else you want to cover with that Steelers Ravens game? Because that's kind of my general thoughts.
I really
on that.
agree with you with what you said from Lamar Jackson as far as throwing the football. He only threw it 21 times, and that equated for 175 yards, which is fine. But I'm looking at the box score. I mean, Derrick Henry, 7.2 yard average. If you can keep Derrick Henry to 4.x, I guess call it 4.5 yards or less per carry in the first half against the Bills, and the Bills can go into the second half with a lead, now we're going to see who's the fucking MVP. Is Lamar Jackson going to be able to throw his way to a victory on the? It's not on the road, is it? It is. They have to go to Buffalo. So again, there's no excuses for Lamar Jackson. I don't care if Zay Flowers is hurt. Okay, you've got Rashad Bateman and Aguilar who are just playing out of their minds for what their expected return is. Right? They're punching way above their weight.
You've also got the best 2 tight ends in the league.
I was about to say, the Ravens have 2 top 10 tight ends in the NFL. I said it. Like, you've got oodles of talent there and an offense who is they're so Todd Monken has been there for 3 years, right?
Yeah.
So they know how to use Mark Andrews. Mark Andrews, I thought, was having a down year. It's just like Kelsey. They're saving him. He was on a pitch count. They're saving him. Isaiah Likely, when it matters, insert the big stiff arm that he had against that little pipsqueak on the Steelers. I mean, that team is juiced up and ready to go, just like Mario Edwards. They have no excuses if they go and lay an egg. As far as a matchup against the Bills, if it's a good game, if you get 2 MVP performances, speaks for itself. I'd expect some sort of like 45-41 football game, man. There's no excuses for Lamar, in my opinion, at this point.
Pound for pound, it's pretty 2 similar teams, but I think if Buffalo lost, I think they have a little bit more excuses in the book, right? Of a rebuilding, retooling year, and maybe being a little bit younger, and not.
I like that.
As talented,
I like that comment because when you look at their tight end situations, I mean, I just said Ravens have 2 top 10 tight ends, but the Bills have pumped a lot of assets into their tight ends, so it's similar. The Ravens have the edge on the offensive line, in my opinion. Their wide receivers probably a push. And then the running back situation, you've got, traditionally in, the middle 2000s, Derrick Henry would be the MVP versus the icon Dalvin Cook's brother. So we'll see how it goes.
Yeah, I just think in the pockets, though, like in your back pocket, if the Ravens get smoked, oh, man, you want to talk about some aftermath with like Pittsburgh and Green Bay and some of the vitriol the fan bases come out with. What the hell do the Ravens say that their excuse was, right? Like, what are they going to say? Like, oh, man, we should have gotten DeAndre Hopkins. You could have gotten DeAndre Hopkins. Maybe you should have done that. Maybe you should. What are you going to do in the first round this year? Are you going to get more receivers? Are you going to stiffen up that defense again? Like, I guess you could argue that their defense is a little low, but man.
Inject talent into that defense because the Ravens have an archetype at wide receiver. From what I've seen, the way that they've drafted, the way they've constructed their roster, they just want the small little speedster burners to kind of take you over the top to allow them to run. Because they literally had a play against the Steelers, and ironically, the linebacker that they let walk, who everyone labeled as an all-pro, Patrick Queen, he got made a mess of on this play where Derrick Henry was in the Wildcat, and Lamar Jackson ran a jet sweep to the other side. Both middle linebackers flowed like, I don't even know, flowed all the way over to that side, and Derrick Henry just blew right past him. So Steelers defense undisciplined, oodles of offense from the Ravens. Again, case in point here for the Ravens, there's no excuses.
Yeah, I agree. Great game. Hopefully it ends up that way. I think if a shootout happens and it's 42-41, 45-41, everybody can just tip their cap to a fucking awesome game. Nobody's making too many excuses. One team just kind of reach the finish line a little bit better than the other.
And let me clear up my bias on that, or at least my hopefulness. Last week I had 3 teams that I'd be okay with winning the Super Bowl. Now I'm down to 1, and that's Josh Allen and the Buffalo Bills. So,
yeah, because your Bucks got eliminated, and as well as your Vikings. No, you didn't want the Vikings. Who was? Oh, Chargers, yeah. Michigan, the Los Angeles Wolverines. So yeah. Yeah, moving to the next game. Not much to talk about. I don't think we need to get too deep into this one. Broncos, Bills. I mean, it went exactly the way we expected it to. a little hot start from the Broncos. Good for Bo Nix. I mean, he is already 28 years old, so I would assume he's ready for the playoffs. I don't think he's actually 28. I think he's 26, whatever. But good for Bo Nix to kind of show up early. And
the facts behind that, and this is why I dislike these quarterbacks. Okay, Bo Nix, Michael Penix. I won't make any jokes on your channel. And then Jaden Daniels. Okay, you needed 6 years in college, buddy. Come the fuck on.
Yeah. So. They should be polished products, right? Comparatively to the other guys.
I know it was the 2020 COVID rule things as well. Literally a natural disaster. I understand it, but just fuck off. Go to the pros.
Yeah, and that's why I said, like, it was a cute story for Bo Nix. I feel like the Broncos also are way in the bonus year. Like, obviously, just anything they did this year was great. I feel like
their draft positioning. Like, if they were a general manager and they had a 3-year plan, right? Like, your draft pick sucks now. You expect it to be a top 15 draft pick with Bo Nix. That would be a lot better for that franchise than this outcome. Obviously, if they would have gone and won this game somehow and then gone to Kansas City, even if they get blown out, right? They just blew out the Chiefs to get to this point, which sucks because I wanted to see Joe Burrow and the Triple Crown winner, Jamar Chase. But that would have been a good experience for them to have that really tense atmosphere, right? Like your quarterback went into a hostile environment, a divisional rival in the playoffs and lost. Then that's probably good for you. But now it was. I'll give anyone listening, any content creators, some free ideas for like a viral video. Okay, take the throw of Bo Nix throwing that long touchdown pass and have it like cut to Bo Nix's face celebrating, and then do the end of The Sopranos, right? Tony Soprano looks up, screen black. That's the fucking plot of the game we just watched. After that moment, fade to black. So
yeah, and you kind of led me into my point with the Broncos. I'm like happy for them, and I do like the Broncos as a franchise. But the thing with the Broncos, like you said, I don't know if this is their cap. Is this their peak? Like, is this? I don't see how they get that much better. Bo Nix is 26. By the time you're really, really good, he's going to be 30. I mean, he's good. He's a good player. You can definitely upgrade at a lot of positions. But like you said, part of the problem is now you're at 26, 28 years old, right? So, I'm sorry, 26, 28th in the draft. So that's a rough position to be in.
You're looking like 24, 22, but still. Like,
okay, so 22 to 26-ish, whatever it is. But
that's
still
the
rough.
best thing that they could do is hope that someone devalues Luther Burden and Luther Burden falls to them because they need a really good wide receiver. They're getting some value out of some guys who I thought were going to be really good in the league, like Marvin Mims, something like that, right? But at the end of the day, these guys, they I think are punching above their weight, and their general manager, in my opinion, is going to be put up to it. For the record, Bo Nix was born February 25th of 2000, so he's 24 years old. He'll be turning 25 here after the Super Bowl. Oh, you're muted. I don't know if that's by design.
Yep. Sorry about that.
No worries.
Yeah, so good for the Broncos. It's a bonus year. I think in terms of playoff teams that I just see being a super high variance team going into next year, I could easily see the Broncos going back down to like 6-10, no matter who they draft, no matter how well they do. It's just this was a lot of peak stuff going on, and it was fun to watch, but Buffalo did what Buffalo was going to do. I think the one thing I did want to just generally touch on in the playoffs, and this game was kind of another microcosm of it. Crazy stuff happens in the playoffs usually. I feel like this year in the playoffs, we did see more consistency that bled over from regular season, and the teams looked the same in the playoffs as they did in the regular season. And I think that's kind of just indicative of this game. The Bills did everything kind of what they usually did during games. When we talk about like the stat lines for each team, right? Josh Allen, 20 for 26, 272, 2 touchdowns, no picks. He's been much better with consistency. He's been much better at running the ball or not turning the ball over. James Cook had a fucking monster game, 23, 120. Josh Allen, 8 for 46. Like, it's not a mind-blowing 400-yard stat line, but it's just, it's just good. It's just exactly what they were in the regular season. It transferred over into the playoffs, and if they can just maintain that, they should be pretty much unstoppable till at least the AFC Championship game. So that's mostly what I thought. Any plans or any ideas for Eagles Packers? Unless you take that one off. So See how you felt about that.
I'm disappointed in the final score, right? The good part about how that game unfolded is that just like with Tomlin, right? Oh, is this a coaching issue? Do we have to get rid of our great head coach? No, you overpaid your dog shit quarterback, and this is silver lining for anyone who isn't a Packers fan and seeing them say, well, if we didn't have all these injuries, maybe it'd be a closer game. No, I think that the playoffs are where journeyman quarterback go to get exposed. Jalen Hurts is not a journeyman quarterback, but he's not the best of the best, man. So that team got a little bit not exposed, but I think that the Eagles underperformed. And for the Packers, they're not going to do any wholesale sweeping changes because they feel like they're close, right? Maybe if our highest paid quarterback in NFL history doesn't throw 3 interceptions while he's throwing off his back foot without looking where the ball is going, maybe we've got a chance. If I'm the Packers, I'm salvaging anything I can for Jordan Love, and that's not going to be much with that shitty contract. But they're just going to be a team stuck in purgatory, right? I think we talked about it last week. They're essentially guaranteed 8 to 10 wins. Maybe they'll squeak in as a 7th seed again, just because of how shitty of a record they have because of circumstance. They're thankfully getting to play the 3rd worst teams in the, how it shook down in the records. But the Packers got fucked, man. They're a bad team. They got exposed for being one, and I don't see a way that they get any better moving forward anytime soon.
Yeah, I like this comment from King Buka. As a Bears fan, can you imagine how much shit would be talked about if Caleb was the 7th seed and played like Jordan Love did in a playoff game?
To a T.
Yeah, it's mind-blowing how shitty Jordan Love looked. Granted, there were some injuries and yada, yada, yada. Excuses can be made because a guy goes on 6-game hot streaks and gets really, really fucking lucky. I mean, obviously you're going to hear our preferences here, but I don't get it anymore. I was like, my Jordan Love feelings, generally speaking, were always just kind of like an apprehension to talk shit because God forbid he's the 3rd fucking Hall of Famer that Green Bay produces in a row. But I'm more and more confident towards just kind of being like, fuck that guy. He definitely does suck. And like you said, the Eagles do get a little bit of a pass for that rest versus rust type of thing because Jalen Hurts hasn't played in like 3 weeks. So I think they did exactly what they needed to do. I don't know how good Philly looks moving forward. I don't know if they're on the same level as Detroit, but they are the 2 seed. Another week under their belt, maybe next week. Hopefully they win. They'll probably be a pretty good NFC championship contender, but otherwise, yeah, purgatory. We could talk about the Packers kind of a little bit more consistently because I don't understand that team. The talk of, with the Bears of where the new star players, the new Pro Bowlers, are the Packers not just resting on their laurels of the previous 5 years? It's talking to me and telling me that Jair Alexander is still a top 5 corner. He's not. Is Jordan Love a top 5 quarterback? He's not. Where are your top 10 receivers? Nowhere. Tucker Kraft has a good game and everybody's talking about the next best tight end. He's not. Josh Jacobs is a import and he's really, really good. And the line is doing fine. But at this point, it's Matt LaFleur, I think, just kind of overcoming and the defense being a little bit better. But otherwise, yeah, I was salivating during that game. I think that was the hardest I cheered all playoff weekend just because I was genuinely excited to watch them get fucked up. So
yeah, I'm scrambling here to try and figure out maybe the key to this insanely improbable run of quarterbacks that the Packers have hit on, right? Favre, great player. Aaron Rodgers, the best of the trio. Jordan Love could be worse than Rex Grossman. But I thought that someone on the Packers today retired. Someone like a long-time either executive or something of those lines. Someone retired today, I thought.
Huh.
I can't figure out where it is. So if you guys are in the chat or if you're listening after the fact, leave a comment down below. Let me know which staff member of the Green Bay Packers retired today. Because I thought he was labeled as a quarterback guru. Yeah, Chad's all over this. Wolf. I don't know who that is. If I can figure that out real quick.
Gotcha. Yeah, I'll give you a second to figure that one out. Just because
Ron Wolf? Are we talking about Ron Wolf, Chad? I'm not too sure. He's literally, his title is an American executive.
An American executive. Executing America. Yeah, Ron Wolf.
Yeah, essentially, I thought he retired today, and maybe that's the key to figuring out all the success that has followed the Packers as far as the quarterback. Last thing regarding the Eagles, they don't necessarily feel like a house of cards because just their offensive line,
Yeah.
Saquon Barkley, and then what's the math on that? It'd be five more. 6 plus 5 is 11. So offensive line, Saquon Barkley, and 5 grocery store clerks is a hyper competitive roster. So I don't think that they're going away anytime soon, especially in their division. But their defensive line continues to churn out talent, and they're losing talent and finding a way to replace it very quickly, right? You've got the guy who went to the Jets. He was a good player for them. Now we're talking about maybe a Josh Sweat becoming a free agent acquisition for the Chicago Bears. Jalen Carter is one, swing of the gavel away from going to jail. So maybe that team is not going to be as good as they are moving forward right now, but time will tell.
Yeah. I'm also just kind of sick of seeing diva wide receivers on winning teams. Like, goddamn, dude, I don't care if you didn't get 10 catches. You won the fucking game. And AJ Brown doing these little like reading a book on the sideline displays of how upset he is
Oh
about
my
not getting catches.
God.
Dude, get the fuck over it. Win a ring and shut up. I
Yeah,
don't get it.
you could throw Prometheus' comment up if you want. We are not talking about Ron Wolf, so any audio listeners, I don't think that applies here. But that was some bad information for myself. I apologize. I promise I saw it. Maybe I was fed bad information, but I swear someone on the Packers either was let go or retired today.
Gotcha.
But thank you, Prometheus.
Yeah, moving through, we got Washington, Tampa. Tampa looked like a wagon early on in that game. Baker was hitting fucking dots. Baker looked like Baker at the beginning, and then all of a sudden it just kind of fizzled out and took a big wet fart. Sorry. Yeah, King Buka, just to kind of address that AJ Brown thing before we move on. Yeah, with AJ Brown, I just felt bad. I'm just so sick of. I feel bad for like fans. It's almost he might be an addition by subtraction guy moving forward. But I just don't think that Jalen Hurts is good enough to have an addition by subtraction yet. But just, dude, please chill. Like, please, enough with the dramatics and the diva shit when your team is winning games.
I don't want to get into this argument per se, but that's why you draft a Roma Dunze 9th overall. Because the Philadelphia Eagles had to trade. I think I still have a picture of it. It was definitely a first-round pick, but wasn't it 2 top 50 picks?
It might have been, but here's the counter to that. It was
it was 18th and 101st overall to acquire AJ Brown and then pay him a 4-year, $100 million contract. In addition to his baggage, you have to game plan how to make AJ Brown happy. Not how do you scheme up this good player to be an effective asset to your team. You have to figure out how to have AJ Brown be happy. So you don't want to be doing that, man. Get your wide receiver and the Bears are done. So I'm glad that we made that pick.
Here's the only argument. If I'm not mistaken, I believe Tennessee used that first round pick to replace a wide receiver, and it was Treylon Burks, who I believe is out of the way.
Oh yeah, they totally got screwed in that trade. They fucked up.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. Your argument is to draft Roma Dunze. They did replace a talent, but with another guy who thought was to be the next AJ Brown and Treylon Burks, and that dude I believe is out of the league right now. And argumentatively, I think Zach Pickens was also about 101st draft. Those picks can be good. They can also like fizzle out. So
Ampharius, I don't know if you went to the University of Michigan, but there's some University of Michigan knowledge right there, man. He got it right there.
Packers quarterback coach Tom Clements to retire in his end of the season press conference on Tuesday.
Let's put this together. How long has Tom Clements been a member of the Green Bay Packers? Tom Clements, obviously this QB coach to retire after spending 2019 and 2020 with the Cardinals, came out of retirement to rejoin the Packers. What was his lineage with the Packers? First joined the Packers in 2006 as QB coach under Mike McCarthy.
Wow.
So a combination
end of Favre's career.
Yeah, a combination of Clements and Favre. And let's give it to McCarthy. He's not an awful coach. We're maybe going to talk about that later on. But that produced Aaron Rodgers, who I feel at his peak was the most talented quarterback in NFL history. So now that guy's gone, and we're expecting Jordan Love to carry on this lineage. Good fucking luck.
Yeah. But yeah, the Washington, they're a cute fucking story, man. I don't know what to think about them because I know we're on the same page with how we feel about Jaden Daniels. I don't get how he works. I don't understand how it keeps working.
He
Every
can't
week,
keep getting away with this. It's dark
yeah,
magic with the Commanders, bro.
they really have. They fucking took all the juju that the 2018 Bears went through and they literally just reversed it. It's
And
basically the same
it
team.
had to be Chris Collinsworth telling you that that was a divisional doink. It had to be him. It's
I know.
just dirty, rotten. I hate it.
Good for the Commanders. If there's any team you just can't hate on as a Bears fan because they basically are us, we can hope that we are them one day. It's the Commanders. They've just sucked forever. Their ownership sucked. Then they sold the team, and now it's all better. We if only we were so lucky. So good for them. I don't have much of a comment on that. Jaden looked good. I mean, I don't. Again, they can't keep getting away with this, but they are just that barely good enough to stay in games late and get a miracle. Next week, I believe they're playing the Rams now, or no, they would be matched up against the. No, they're going to be the Lions matchup. So it's Washington Lions. If they fucking keep that shit competitive, I don't know what else to say. I'll have no more excuses left as to why I don't believe in Washington. But I think they're still playing on brownie points. If I had another high variance team that wouldn't surprise me being like 8 to 7 wins next year, it's Washington. And like I was saying, it's Denver. We always lose about 2 or 3 playoff teams, and we always gain 2 or 3 new ones. Of the playoff teams that are still here, Broncos, Washington are up there with me. So,
Yeah. Shout out Plank in chat. How's it going, buddy? I know you say he's only going to be here for a little bit of time, so thanks for stopping by. We both really greatly
absolutely.
appreciate it, Plank. With the Commanders, I mean, if they go into Detroit and beat Detroit, I will be extremely frustrated. But I'm not going to be mad because I don't like the Lions. Now, the caveat here with them is that their dark arts and their luck could continue against a team primarily playing its third stringers on defense. I really wouldn't be surprised. To put a capstone on what we saw from the Redskins against the Buccaneers, watch Antoine Winfield Jr., watch Kalijah Cansey. What's going on here?
Sorry, I'm just helping Ampharius. Commanders, Lions, Rams, Eagles. Ampharius is Ampharius is like 99% right almost always. But
yeah,
I,
he saved my ass with the quarterback
incorrect.
guy retiring, but Ampharius, it's the 6th seed going to the 1st seed,
Right.
and the now 5th seeded. Wait, no, that'd be the Vikings. It's the 4th seed going to the 2nd seed.
I was trying to do it subtly without saying anything to Ampharius because he's like 99% almost every single time.
Yeah,
I want to make it.
yeah,
like the whole thing
we're
where I'm
never
like,
calling
no
you.
Ampharius. Yeah, no.
Yeah, we're never calling you guys out in chat either. You're here to help us, and
Yeah, absolutely.
we'll return the favor when possible. What was I saying about little Jaden Daniels? Okay, watch maybe just the 3rd or 4th quarter. Watch Antoine Winfield Jr. or Kalijah Cansey tackle Austin Eckler, and then watch them tackle Jaden Daniels. What the fuck is going on there?
It's like a Looney Tune character. I don't get it. Whenever he gets rocked, he's like fucking
you've got it
around.
I know that you've got the green dot on offense and defense, and there's only one microphone in the headset, right? I call bullshit. They've got to be screaming during that play, like, don't touch him, don't touch him. Like, it's weird, man. I can't stand it.
He's 180 pounds soaking wet. Somebody just go 2000s Ray Lewis and fuck that kid up.
Well, that NFL, unfortunately, is dead and gone, and I'm starting to accept that more each and every single day. But, I mean, just look at his elbow. It looks like he's got when the baseball players go up to bat and they've got the elbow guard that, like, sticks out and it looks like a knife almost. That's that's Jaden Daniels' fucking elbow when he throws a football, man. What's going on there? And like Terry McLaurin, great wide receiver. Like, you're getting it done with Noah. Is it Diami Brown? Noah Brown? I don't even know who these pipsqueaks are.
And you're going Brown, into Tampa. Olamides, Zacchaeus, and the corpse of Zach Ertz.
You
like,
can't
what the
keep getting
fuck
away with this. It's terrible, man.
Yeah, I don't like it. I can't hate it, but I don't like it. It just doesn't make it breaks all my football logic, and that's why I don't like seeing it. I don't get to. I predicted them to win exactly like this because that's the only thing that makes sense with them. But I don't like it, and it's making me just contradict every football thought I've had before. So it's kind of why I don't like it. But you get to start off on your boyfriend, Sean McVay, and the game that we saw yesterday. Yet again, giving myself a little pat on the back. I saw that one coming. I said I took the Rams over the Vikings, but I think it had the most interesting storyline of the weekend. It wasn't a good game, but it was fun to watch and fun to dissect.
Yeah, I'll be very sympathetic to my girlfriend here. Like, no joke, what's going on in Los Angeles with those wildfires? That is a tragedy. I'm so sorry to anyone who has to deal with that. But why do the fucking Vikings, who are traditionally chokers in the playoff, have to run into that buzzsaw and potentially the best coach in the NFL gets to galvanize his football team over a fucking act of nature? If you're the Vikings fans, you've got to feel so hard done by that, man. I feel bad for them, genuinely. And I was genuinely surprised. I have broken my hand multiple times, broke both of my fucking hands saying trade for Sean McVay. It only makes sense, and I know it would never happen. But again, more vindication. He proved just how good of a coach he is. Like we had in our Twitter exchanges, he's motioning Kyron Williams into the A gap the second before the ball is snapped. And then Brian Flores says, "Well, fuck, if you're going to max protect, I'm just going to roll out of it." Okay, I see Harrison Smith fading out of the line of scrimmage to cover, and as he's doing that, I'm running right there, right? Replace where the hole is. Like normally where a blitz comes in, you throw the ball there. And the flip side, if he's rotating back to cover, run the ball right there. Sean McVay was in his bag. He dominated that football top to bottom. And let's talk about Sam Darnold. That poor kid is probably going to lose $25 million because of those 2 football games. Oh my God.
I thought I'm starting to go back to week 17, and I think Sean McVay lost on purpose because he was just like, I'm going to eat Brian Flores' fucking lunch, and I'm going to take my little son, my little baby Kevin O'Connell, and just put him back in his crib where he belongs underneath me. Because holy shit, that was a Sean McVay masterclass to the point where I would say that the defense of the Vikings was rendered neutered based on just pure game plan, like you had said. I was watching the Manning cast for that game, by the way, and holy shit, I love that. I mean, I don't know how you feel about the Manning cast. I think it's great. A lot of good insights. But he was talking about Manning was pointing out how Matt Stafford was getting sent to the line with Plank. Thank you for stopping by, as always. And thank you for being here at all. Appreciate you. But yeah, Manning was pointing out how Matt Stafford was being sent to the line with the blitz play, with the blitz pickup play, with the hot read play. And he was being given the green light and given the easier play in his back pocket, which is to audible and check into a non-blitz beater. And I just thought that was like one of those subtle things that, of course, Sean McVay is fucking doing that. Of course, it's such backwards thinking. I've watched a lot of Minnesota games this year, and never at any point did I see that comment or that type of play style be made. You would see these quarterbacks get up, see these shifting safeties and this line that's made up of 5 linebackers, and they would just be like, what the fuck do I do here? Let me check into my blitz beater, and which is exactly what Brian Flores wanted you to do. Sean McVay just simplified, took a step back and said, all right, motherfucker, I'm going to the line with my blitz beater, and if you roll out of it because you see my blitz beater, I got my regular ass play in Matt Stafford's back pocket. What a fucking game. It really shit on anybody arguing about scheme and how we're just going to beat you with our brain. Sometimes you just need a fucking culture. And Brian Flores was made to look. I think you said Sam Darnold lost a lot of money. Brian Flores just lost like 5 power rankings in the head coaching standings.
Yeah, between that and the Fitzpatrick comments, saying, Jekyll and Hyde, essentially, which version of Brian Flores are you going to get? I don't see him leaving Minnesota anymore. So on offense, you talked about going to the line with a blitz beater and then audibling out of that. That's kind of like the old Peyton Manning philosophy, ratcheted up, right? Because Peyton Manning would always go to the line of scrimmage with a run play called. Then he would audible into either like a deep shot pass play, a short intermediate pass, and a screen. Like that's to the next level of, okay, we're going to beat what you're good at. And then, like what I was saying, if Stafford's able to audible into a run at Harrison Smith because on film he finally identified what is going to happen when Harrison Smith is at the line and he's going to check out. Which foot is he leading with? Is his hand on his hip? Something like that. Something stupid like that, right? Like these are the types of things that we're talking about that make Sean McVay great. And I rant and rave about his ability to say, okay, this is what happened on this play 4 years ago on this down and distance with this much time on the clock. That's just the fun stuff. He's able to find out real stuff and win football games for you. The Rams are getting hot. I don't know if they can go into Philadelphia and win, but the Rams have a top 3 wide receiver in the NFL. They've got a wily old vet who can make any throw in the book. Stafford's looking a little mobile now. If he needs to run, he's got the chance. Kyren Williams is good. I'm so sad that Blake Corum broke his arm in the last game of the regular season, so he won't be able to spell Kyren Williams. But overall, that team is talented. But their defense, I think they really capitalized on what they saw against Detroit last week. I think that Aaron Glenn is a fantastic defensive coordinator, being able to put out the performances that his defense is doing with that personnel. I think that the Rams just saw that and said, okay, we're going to do that. And it really stymied what the Vikings have been doing all season on offense. So,
Yeah. Last thing I'll say for that game, and I think it transitions well into our next topic. I think this is where having a good head coach that is your head football coach, not because Sean McVay is just an amazing play caller, not because Sean McVay is an innovative offensive mastermind. He doesn't break the mold with football, but he understands it to such minutia levels and thinks 2 steps ahead. Nobody's out here saying that Sean McVay is like, rewriting playbooks or anything like. He is just doing things that football traditionalists respect. He's just elevating them, in my opinion. And I think this is where a head coach that's a really good head coach is also responsible for helping his defense, because you could absolutely see how the Rams defense was playing based on what Sean McVay told them to look for. And that's where I think, we are in the middle of a coaching search as Bears fans. I did see a comment earlier in the chat. I didn't get to it because I didn't want to kind of break the tone. But how do we feel about getting Ben Johnson and all that stuff? And what are the odds of that? I don't know. I don't necessarily care at this point, if I'm being perfectly honest, because I just kind of my favorite choice has been gone now. But I think Sean McVay put on a masterclass of what a good head coach. You get 9 fucking sacks on Sam Darnold. Where he's just pointing out Kevin O'Connell, where he knows he's going to fake an option read, react to that receiver. So what's happening? A fucking corner blitz. It's going to get right in Sam Darnold's face within 2 seconds. He's going to panic. He's going to take a sack or get a pick. It's just a masterclass of elevating, understanding a simple thing in football and just mind fucking the opposing team into making all the mistakes.
And I think that's how you get to 9 sacks is you scheme them out. You really do a good job of figuring that side out. But the Rams have elite talent on their defensive line. I genuinely think that one more season like this from Kobe Turner, he's never going to reach Aaron Donald's level, but Kobe Turner's fucking fantastic. Jared Verse, very, very capable player. He was electric in that game. Thumbnail of the episode here on my channel is him jumping over when they already had the sack. And he obviously returned that ball for a touchdown. I mean, they've got some elite talent that they were able to replace Aaron Donald with, and they should feel really good about their team moving forward, in my opinion.
Agreed. I thought the Rams were hitting a soft reboot, and I think like them in Buffalo are probably the best example of you never really have to go down too long to kind of pop back up. So
it's all about Stafford, though, right? Because obviously Sean McVay was able to take his Rams when they had, I don't know if they were the most talented offense that year, but they had Jared Goff paired with Todd Gurley. That offense was awesome. They had that incredible game against the Chiefs on Monday Night Football where it was like 50-49 or something like that in the Coliseum.
Yeah, Mexico City.
Yeah. But whatever the case was, they were not able to win the Super Bowl with Goff. And as soon as they acquired Stafford, who's obviously a clear-cut better quarterback, all things said and done, that elevated that team, right? So without that, how good can they be? And I just don't know how much longer Matt Stafford has it in him. But I would like to see what they do moving forward at the quarterback position. So,
if they can get one more year out of Matt Stafford, look out for the Rams to take a quarterback late first round, early second round, and just groom him for a full year. And I have very little doubt that a full year of not playing and just learning from Sean McVay, that a second year guy wouldn't come out and at least look half decent.
Anthony Richardson.
Yeah, that was your big prediction. I don't know how quickly we can get to that, but Jordan
No,
Love.
the Rams acquiring Anthony Richardson is something that's
Oh
not
no, I
off the
get that.
table. Yeah.
I get that. There's definitely some young guys. I mean,
Ooh, King Buka. He went there. I don't know
son of a
about that.
bitch.
I don't
Son
know
of a
about
bitch.
that.
No, Steelers are signing him to like a 3-year extension. I read that today. Don't speak that into existence, King Buko. What the fuck, dude? Don't do that shit to me. But who cares? Justin Fields, good luck to him. He was never going to be anything here anyway, so whatever.
Correct.
Anyway, so kind of doing the whole coaching carousel. Only concrete news that has come out of this week was inevitable. Writing was on the wall. It still hurts me because I went from a 5% chance of hope to a 0, and Mike Vrabel is officially on a multi-year deal with New England. I have heard no negatives. I've literally only negatives I've heard is about people who are jealous that they didn't get Mike Vrabel and are basically talking shit that oh, it's not that great. He's not that great. Otherwise, um, I see New England being an 8 to 10 win team next year. Probably going to end up just fighting for second place constantly in the AFC East moving forward for the next 5 years. And I am very jealous. Any thoughts, Carl?
No, I mean, the way that Vrabel talked about the roster construction for the Patriots made it obvious that they're going to try and focus on the trenches to support their quarterback. No fun questions for him in the media session or the introductory press conference that I watched regarding Joe Milton. So it's going to be Drake May's team, obviously. But they haven't hired a offensive coordinator. A lot of people were initially thinking that it was going to be the quarterbacks coach for the Cleveland Browns. I can't think of his name, but then that man got elevated to offensive coordinator today. So I don't know if he'd be able to make a lateral move anymore to the Patriots. It sounds like it's Josh McDaniels' job to lose, right? So
Tommy
I
Rees.
was
Thank you, Chad.
thank you very much, Chad.
He's
So
32
yeah,
years old. He's actually the youngest offensive coordinator in the NFL right now.
right.
I think
So
in history, NFL history.
yeah, and I learned today I think Drew Petzing is only 37 as well. So there's some young minds in this NFL right now, which is cool to see.
Oof.
Um. Anyway, I'm not too inspired with his offensive coordinator choices, especially if it's going to be Josh McDaniels. But I have no fear that Mike Vrabel is the man for the job in New England. He's going to be a fantastic coach. How do they go about surrounding their quarterback with talent? Are they going to draft Abdul Carter in the top or fourth overall after they've already signed Trey Smith and T Higgins, as we talked about earlier? That would be a really easy way to
I
make your
want Trey
team
Smith. Stop
super
talking about Trey
competitive.
Smith.
Now, I can promise you Trey Smith won't ever hit the open market, but I don't want to rain on your parade, so to speak. Other thoughts regarding that, though, I'll see it when I believe it with the Patriots, man.
Sounds good. A little bit more dubious than me. I just am a little bit more confident in Mike Vrabel just putting them in back into being the Patriots. Maybe not the Tom Brady, Bill Belichick version of the Patriots that you're familiar with, but they just went from a bottom feeder to a mid-level team overnight, in my opinion. In the AFC East, I don't fear Miami. I think the Jets are a dumpster fire,
And
and they're going to get to compete for second place in the AFC East with Buffalo and go from there and compete for 7 seeds and 6 seeds next year.
yeah,
So
a really easy thing to kind of say is that you could easily see now that the Patriots have became the Dolphins. And whether the bottom feeder is going to be the Dolphins, which I'd be surprised at, or more likely the Jets, I think that's what we're going to see.
yeah, and I think with Mike McDaniel there, whoever New Jersey hires, and depending on how you feel about Sean McDermott, I just think that the AFC East it's going to be just awesome matchups, and I don't think Mike Vrabel is scared of anybody there. And I don't blame him for taking the job. I think he made the right choice for himself. I think he made the best choice in terms of the league, and
Vrabel?
it's the yeah.
It's storybook stuff, man. I mean, unfortunately, you could see the storybook closing and them just sucking and him being fired in 3 years again, especially with Robert Kraft's imminent dementia. But I think in the moment, it was the only option for Mike Vrabel.
I agree. I think I'm going to end up being a little bit more positive on that. So, I did have a question for you that's a little bit more nebulous, and then you can kind of navigate it for me. Me and Paul were laughing about the 3 Mikes today. You got Mike Vrabel, you got Mike McCarthy, and you got Mike Tomlin. Do me a favor and power rank those 3 coaches in terms of who you like the most, and then maybe just comment a little bit on that situation.
It's really hard for me to have a level head on Mike McCarthy. He's just such a, I'll say it, a fat son of a bitch who got lucky because of Aaron Rodgers. I think that all of the success for Mike McCarthy is from Aaron Rodgers. He's not a bad coach by any stretch of the imagination. His record speaks for himself. But in the same breath, Mike McCarthy, without Aaron Rodgers, and even with Aaron Rodgers, right? Mike McCarthy doesn't have a proven track record in the playoffs of winning multiple games and losing at the end because of some BS and getting his Super Bowls. He's only got one from a great, I said Aaron Rodgers. I think even at that time, specifically when they won the Super Bowl, he was the most talented quarterback ever. So as far as a power ranking, I think that even it's almost same breath conversation with Tomlin regarding Ben Roethlisberger retiring, right? That's when this skid that we've seen from the Steelers and Mike Tomlin started. I still think that Mike Tomlin is at the top of this trio. As far as number 2, I'm really impressed with Vrabel. I watched his entire introductory press conference, and he's exactly the type of man that I've read about. He's just not rah-rah, but he teeters that line. And I saw this fantastic clip. I don't know if I'll be able to play it. I think I should. Let me see if I can play it for you guys, because this is some good stuff, man. I made it as a joke when I posted it, but just the way that, let's see if I can throw this up. 39 seconds from NFL Films, right? I'll share the audio too. I'm sure it'll be just fine if you want to share that. I mean, just watch this stuff, guys. This is at the end of a football game.
Yep, Ben Jones is center.
I've never seen anything like it. I've never seen anything like it. I've never seen anything like it. I love you like my no.
He loves the fucking game, man. Like that is not something that you can just acquire. And I don't even know if they won that football game. It seems to indicate that they did. A lot of smiles there.
He did. I remember that happening in real time. Ben Jones was playing on like some sort of strained calf or something like that, if I remember correctly. It was like a really bad, like partial tear in his calf muscle or something. And Ben Jones, I believe that was with Derrick Henry playoff run. Ben Jones was kind of like iffy about playing. They put him in on Saturday. And Vrabel knows how those fucking injuries feel and how they work. And Ben Jones played the whole fucking game and they won. I mean, the results speak for themselves. The reactions speak for themselves. The guy, he'll die for you and he won't ask you to do anything he wouldn't do himself. And that's where I think the culture kind of changes for any team that hires Mike Vrabel. Good on the Patriots. But yeah, anyway.
And it's not even that, you're seeing that with Vrabel go to the Titans, who I don't know if he had any connections with. I'm sure that there's some back-end stuff that we'll always be able to draw comparisons to. But Mike Vrabel won 3 Super Bowls here with the same ownership. This is a storybook match made in heaven. So with that all said, compounded with your optimism for him and my Bears lens, anger for McCarthy, there's not a clear-cut 1 and 3 in my opinion. But my ranking for this exercise would be Tomlin, Vrabel, McCarthy.
Yeah. The reason I asked and mostly just proposed it to you before giving you any news is I saw some things going across my Twitter and everything about the similarities between those 3 guys. And funny enough, King Buka kind of said it too. Mike Tomlin and Mike McCarthy, I disagree as well. I don't think they're the same guy. I think Mike Tomlin gets the best out of shittier teams compared to Mike McCarthy. I think Mike McCarthy comes into better situations and essentially leaves them worse than what they started as. Over time, in the middle of his tenure, he'll get some decent, 12-win seasons like he did in Dallas and like he did in Green Bay. But I don't think he's the fucking architect of those by any standards or measurements. I rewatched his stupid fat fucking face during his introductory press conference with Dallas, and he said he made a joke about how he told Jerry that he watched every single game that Dallas played the year before, And then he was like, I didn't really. I lied about that, but I still got the job anyway. That motherfucker showed up here and made a joke like that with the Bears media. Oh my fucking God. They'd eat his ass alive. Suffice to say, going into the coaching thing and what the rumors are, Mike McCarthy is heavily linked to the Bears. I would say he's probably my odds-on favorite of who the Bears are going to end up with, and he's tied to the New Orleans Saints. And when you're in a conversation with the Saints and the Bears, it's not a good, group to be in. While also saying that the reason I'm heavily favoring at this point is, guess who the first in-person interview the Bears are conducting with this
Gotta
week?
stop you. To my understanding, I haven't seen any concrete evidence of this, but what I've been told, I trust these people. I think that Ron Rivera was the first person that the Bears brought into their building. And I think that they may have been doing that for Rooney Rule compliance. I'm not too sure. But I think that I wish it was Tomlin, but McCarthy is going to end up being the second in-person interview that the Chicago Bears are hosting.
Well, thank you for correcting me. But either way,
now is he is
it's
that
not a great list, by the way. Ron
that
Rivera, I can bring up some articles of his senility kicking in Washington.
Oh no, I'm not in favor of him. I mean, if you were really put up against it and you had a candidate that you wanted to be your defensive coordinator that turned to be like a surprise head coaching hire, like if you were dead set on Robert Saleh and the Jaguars was just like, yeah, fuck it, and they got Robert Saleh, then maybe you go to a Ron Rivera and say, hey, can you do a job for us? But the point that I wanted to make was, not only is Mike McCarthy breaking the cycle. Okay, they stuck to their guns. They need to do virtual interviews to keep it for consistency's sake. But it's Mike McCarthy, so we have to bring him in person, right? I think it's more that the teams or the coaches that you were interviewing primarily are in the playoffs. So I've got the list of names on their the Bears YouTube, their Twitter account. So Vrabel, maybe my point is wrong here, because the official interviews in order have been Mike Vrabel, then Drew Petzing, then Anthony Weaver, then Pete Carroll, then Mike Kafka. So 5 names in, no playoffs. Now we're talking Ben Johnson and Aaron Glenn. Those guys, I think, had to be virtual because they're in the playoffs. But Ron Rivera and Thomas Brown, I would hope that Thomas Brown was conducted in person too. I doubt it, just knowing the McCaskies. But I don't know, man. I don't know if there's really too much breaking the cycle, and Mike McCarthy is like standing out, but he does feel like the favorite, which is really unfortunate right now.
Yeah. Ben Johnson, the NFL needs to figure its fucking shit out with this Tom Brady thing, because Tom Brady being allowed to basically talk to Ben Johnson next week during a broadcast interview, and they're not filming those. They don't have an NFL representative standing over Tom Brady's shoulder when absolutely he should be, considering he's a partial fucking owner of an NFL team. I think they need to start kicking Tom Brady out of these fucking things and making him choose what he needs to be, either a partial owner or a fucking broadcaster or a recruiter. Pick one. And make him pick one, because that's some bullshit. Because the rumors now of Ben Johnson being a Raiders potential are getting bigger. I still think the Bears are probably, I don't know, my head tells me absolutely not Ben Johnson. For some reason, my gut still tells me it's a possibility. But I don't feel very strongly about it.
And Adam Schefter had some bullshit comments about how, I feel strongly that Tom Brady will be able to act appropriately, things like that. Why do we even have to leave it up to chance? It's just grade A bullshit. There was a interview that Tom Brady had with Patrick Mahomes at the start of the season, I believe, that I referenced for one of my videos, but it was through Fox, obviously. That's going to be the exact same thing we're going to get, because I'm pretty sure that I don't know if I have the matchups for next week, the divisional round, but isn't that Lions game going to be on Fox, and Tom Brady's going to be narrating that game?
Correct.
Like
that was part of my point. He absolutely has media access and will be interviewing Ben Johnson.
It's going to be sketchy. There's going to be a little piece on Fox, the pregame show, where Tom Brady's interviewing Ben Johnson. I can fucking guarantee it, and it's going to feel shitty. Now, I had mentioned this before. I'm being attacked in my comment section by Raiders fans telling me, Caleb Williams isn't that good. The Raiders have more cap space. Las Vegas is a more attractive destination than Chicago. Fuck off. We've got the quarterback figured out. Tom Brady is not running quarterback for Ben Johnson's offense. And the Raiders cannot acquire anyone better than Caleb Williams. So, as far as it being a better destination for the Raiders than the Bears, just fuck out of here. Now, Ben Johnson's going to have the familiarity with all 4 teams in the division. He'll be familiar with his Lions. He's played against the Bears, Packers, and Vikings, so there's a lot of familiarity there. You're telling me that Ben Johnson's going to choose to try and rescue and salvage their quarterback situation to go up against the Broncos and, more importantly, the Chargers and the Chiefs? No, I doubt that.
No, if the Bears' job is scaring people away just because of the strength of the division, it's not a fucking. You're not presenting a better argument with the Raiders.
Second and third tier teams got bounced like a little basketball. They look like shit. There's no competition, and the Lions will be. They'll be losing both their coordinators. There is House of Cards team in the entire division as anyone else. That just losing those 2 men, Ben Johnson and Aaron Glenn, that could have that team come crashing down. I'm not going to say that they're going to repeat their winless season, which is really funny, by the way, but they'll probably, I don't know, I could see the Lions winning only 9 or 10 games and, again, getting bounced in the wild card because Dan Campbell was a guy who was kind of not on the hot seat, but people were questioning that hire. Then once they moved to Ben Johnson, they have the best offense in the NFL in that span, and you see what Aaron Glenn is doing too. I don't think that these guys are just plug-and-play replacements, man.
Yeah, I had a thought this morning when driving to work, just kind of like, who the hell would Ben Johnson's staff be? And I'd still like to know somebody who has a little bit more knowledge about that and who he's tied to. Because knowing Ben Johnson's history, I don't know if he's got a decent staff to put together in terms of NFL. And that scares me with the Matt Nagy thing. When Andy Reid let Matt Nagy go, I don't know if you recall this or in the media, Matt Nagy had to piecemeal his entire staff throughout the league because Andy Reid blocked
everything,
all assistants. All assistants. They didn't allow Matt Nagy to poach a single one. So I worry with the Lions losing both coordinators, they're going to try to salvage and block every underling that they possibly can, leaving Ben Johnson to piecemeal the rest of the league
together.
Would make so I don't know what his connections have.
Yeah, these fantastic pieces as far as like I really like Antoine Randall L. So Dan Shorty with the Bears Country podcast, he loves the idea of Josh McCown. He wants him as the head coach. I think as an offensive coordinator he'd be okay. But I feel the exact same way about Antoine Randall L. I think that he would be a fantastic offensive coordinator, all things considered. I think he could figure it out. That's probably a guy that would be elevated on that staff for the Lions because you can't afford to lose everyone.
That was my concern. That's a separate thought for another day.
Yeah.
If God forbid, I don't know, God forbid. I guess he's the second best choice left at this point.
I'm okay with God forbid at this point, but I mean, the way that really I view it is without Vrabel and without being able to trade for a bona fide, iconic head coach.
I'll take Todd Monken at this fucking point.
No, I'd rather just go boom or bust with Ben Johnson because I think that there's so much potential there, and I'm okay to roll the dice on that.
Same. That's where I'm at. One more thing that I think was funny, really quickly addressing the comments with the Bears fans, talking about, King Buka and Ant Mass had a great one. George is in Dreamland, remembering when McCarthy beat our asses in Green Bay. George is the type to get Mike McCarthy in the building and just say, don't let him leave. Like what you should say to Mike Vrabel, George is going to say, don't let him walk out that door. We're going to lose him to the Saints. And then I can't forgive myself. He's that fucking stupid. Let's just be honest. The third funny one that kind of came up, and I don't know, because maybe you can clarify, the Deion Sanders to Dallas thing.
Oh my God. Yes. That was my favorite little
is that
breaking news cycle that has ever happened. No, it's news. Like
I think it's real too.
No, it is. This is what happened, okay? So Adam Schefter started it. Let me see if I can pull his Twitter up so that we can share this.
Yeah, I believe you have this sent to me.
8 hours ago.
I have it right here.
It's too segmented. Here, let me share the screen with you so that everyone can look at this together. This is I haven't experienced something like this. This is hilarious, right? So, I don't know who did it first then, I don't think that Adam Schefter was first, but he essentially says Deion Sanders and Jerry Jones have spoken about the Cowboys' head coaching job as, I guess this is Jordan Schultz, right? So Adam Schefter, once he got a whiff of this, immediately on the halftime show for the playoff game. Again, this all happened during an NFL playoff game on Monday night. Adam Schefter reports this. Now he's investing everything in his resources, himself even. They're reaching out to Deion Sanders. More about Jerry Jones talking to Deion Sanders. This is within 2 hours. Now, to hear from Jerry Jones is truly delightful. So he's getting a scoop directly from Deion Sanders, a direct quote. It says, "It's intriguing, but I love Boulder and everything there is about our team, student body, and the community." So a full circle little news blurb here during a fucking football game pressured Deion Sanders on potentially being the head coach of the Dallas Cowboys and directly asked him, and he was told no. So I've never seen anything like this. This is insane.
If you want to hear a blockbuster deal of how something like this shakes out, I believe the Raiders have the 3rd overall pick in the current draft right now. I could Google this really quickly and just
I think
check.
it's later. I think your NFL draft order is Titans, Cleveland Browns, New York Giants, and the New England Patriots. So maybe the Raiders are 5th? I can't remember.
Okay. Currently on the NFL draft, I apologize for this one, but I'm going to have it in 5 seconds. Tennessee,
Tankathon
Cleveland,
is a
New
good one.
York. Yeah, Tankathon. Tennessee, Cleveland, New York, New England, Jacksonville, and Las Vegas. Depending on when Shedeur Sanders goes. Let's say the Raiders, son of a bitch, Chad. What the God damn it, Chad. This is where I was going. You just stole it, man. The Raiders
or Tennessee,
trade,
Chad. Or Tennessee, Chad.
Or Tennessee. But I don't think Tennessee has a chance for Ben Johnson. But that's kind of where I'm going with this. If Shedeur falls to 6, which let's be honest, he should not be drafted any earlier than that.
Hold on. Shedeur
Let me
Sanders
finish.
can John Elway his way to whatever fucking team that his dad is the head coach of.
So that's what I'm kind of getting at. So Dak gets traded to the Raiders. They use Dak as a bait to say, hey, Ben, you've got Dak Prescott, a veteran quarterback, on the Raiders. Your quarterback situation has been figured out. We traded the 6th pick overall to the Dallas Cowboys.
That trade, by the way, that would be the ultimate hoops and ladders trade in the NFL history, because there'd be so much dead cap on the Cowboys that they'd have to literally never do anything. They didn't have any free agency signings.
Micah Parsons would be an unrestricted free agent.
But what I'm saying is you'd have to trade him before the draft or on draft day, and then wait until June 1st? Something like that. It'd be the craziest fucking thing. And Dak Prescott would be surrounded with paparazzi. Nope, I am not a member of the Oakland Raiders. But that'd be a lie.
Yeah, I agree. But that's kind of the hoops and ladders that I'm going through. And then you get the 6th pick in the draft. Shedeur Sanders goes to goes to the Cowboys with Shedeur. Shedeur goes to the Cowboys with Deion. And I think that would be an absolute hilarious thing. And I think the funniest thing...
Bro, finish it quick unless I'm okay to jump in here. I just had a eureka Jimmy Neutron brain blast moment, dude. Because put on Ampharis's comment. Colorado team is extremely undisciplined. They are near the top in penalties. I would stay far away from him if I was an NFL team. Maybe, just maybe, Jerry Jones has accepted that he's never going to win anything ever again because his team sucks. So what can you do if you're an owner of a business and you can't have success?
Sell some fucking tickets.
Instead of winning, he's going to win by obtaining money. Now here's the brain blast, and I don't know how I'm going to phrase this. Deion Primetime Sanders currently has a special on Amazon called Coach Prime. Literally, Amazon Prime Time Deion Sanders. If Deion Sanders was the head coach of the Dallas Cowboys and something happened with Jerry Jones, I don't think that Jerry Jones would ever let the Cowboys leave the Jones family. But how fucking crazy would it be if Jeff Bezos became the owner of the Dallas Cowboys while Prime Time was the head coach of the team that he owns, with a special on Prime Thursday Night Football? I don't know how you draw that lineage, but that would be some crazy conspiracy crackhead stuff, man.
That's also the easiest way to
Perfect
compete
time
with
for Cliff
hard
Victoria.
knocks.
Oh my God. Yeah,
You've got a yearly hard knocks of the Cowboys every year, and no one would bat an
Didn't we
eye.
talk about that? Having a recurring hard knocks without them knowing? It'd be
Kind of.
just like no, we're not doing hard knocks. It's the Cowboys. We're doing hard knocks every year.
Yeah. The one thing I would say that I think the funniest shit about this coaching cycle, and I don't know, I really fucking hope it's not the case, but these owners are smoking the good crack this offseason. And every coaching hire I've seen so far is just fucking vibes, man. It's just like Vrabel and the fucking history, and he's in our Hall of Fame. And it's just a good vibe, man. We just got to get him here because it's the vibes. Dion to Dallas because that's a nice vibe fit. Mike McCarthy to the Bears is the most perfect vibe fit I've ever seen, maybe in the history. George and Mike would just hit it off swimmingly, right? And so it's all just vibes right now, and I fucking hate it. And yeah, and then the Raiders doing Ben Johnson because of the vibe of Tom Brady, man. And then we got a cool owner and like fucking whatever. Fuck this offseason. I fucking hate it. I love the offseason and I love the like all that shit, but this is one of my least favorite coaching cycles ever because none of it makes sense. It's not conducive to good football, in my opinion. I think next year a lot of these teams are just going to be a clown car based on how they're hiring and what they're doing. If you want Dallas to be a clown car and be entertaining, sure. Will it be conducive to good football? Almost certainly not. Ben Johnson on the Raiders, will it be interesting with a Dak Prescott trade sprinkled in and some crazy drama for the NFL like it's a goddamn Netflix reality TV show? Yes. Will it be entertaining? Will it be good football? More than likely not. We can keep going and keep going. Mike McCarthy to the Bears, will that lead to good football? More than likely not. And we're just right now on this ridiculous fucking clown car of NFL coaching that's just not going to result in good shit.
I agree with you. Now, let me plant the seed before I forget it. I think it's a good time for it, okay? We just watched the AFC North have an end-of-season Hard Knocks. Imagine a middle or end-of-season Hard Knocks with Mike McCarthy as the head coach of the Chicago Bears after he had spent so much time with the Green Bay Packers, and Aaron Rodgers as the starting quarterback of the Minnesota Vikings, the former Green Bay Packer. How good of football watching television would that be?
That'd be fucking good. And I do also think that clearly they're going to let Sam Darnold go now. J.J. McCarthy's going to get the start. And who better to back up J.J. McCarthy and shut the fuck up than Aaron Rodgers? But
let me let me document this so that the world is very well aware of what's going on here too. My girlfriend told me, who is a Vikings fan, that if Aaron Rodgers is the starting quarterback of the Minnesota Vikings, that's her into becoming a Chicago Bears fan. So at this point, I'm all fucking for that.
Well, let's hope that actually happens for your sake. But yeah, in fairness, we'll move on from this coaching stuff because we really don't have much news, but this is kind of just the vibes that we've been going off of lately, and they all kind of fucking suck. And I hate this coaching cycle right now. It's all bad. I think it's one of the worst talent coaching cycles I think we've ever seen, minus the Ben Johnson of it all in terms of young up-and-comers. They all do kind of come out of nowhere. Like your Dave Canales, that looked like probably the weakest head coaching hire of last coaching cycle, and it ended up probably being the best. But we'll find out in a year or two. And yeah, Ben Johnson actually going into the division. Yeah, I don't know. He's interdivision head coaching hires. We'll find out. But let's finish up with next week's games.
Hold on. Breaking news. Couple different things.
Fuck.
So here's some general, actual, tangible news. Aaron Wilson is reporting that former Bears cornerback Reddy Stewart is signing a futures contract with the Minnesota Vikings after being pursued by numerous teams around NFL, per league source. That league source is being, I think, a news outlet in Houston, which that doesn't make much sense. I'm going to go ahead and make sure I send that directly to Mr. Adam Mason because Adam Mason is the guy regarding Reddy Stewart. And then Chad actually sent me a piece of news. I don't want to throw you under the bus here, Chad. The at NFL Notify Twitter account, which I think is kind of like a chat now to the highest degree of BS, they're reporting that the Chicago Bears are reportedly done adding names to their head coaching net. They think that between the names that are in their current net as things stand that they're content. So, again, if it's not going to be Mike McCarthy, Ben Johnson, or Aaron Glenn, not in that order, I think it's Ben Johnson first, but afterwards, I think that we would be in a really bad situation if we hire any of the other 17 names that are invested in this right now.
Yeah, everybody else on that fucking name. I guess my second choice would be just Joe Brady, I guess. Let it fucking happen. Maybe Pete Carroll and have a plan of succession.
Pete
Reshuffle that
Carroll
culture.
I made a video on him, and it just feels like you'd be laying the bedrock for a team that already has the bedrock laid. You wouldn't be able to win a Super Bowl with him, and by the time maybe you're hopefully ready to compete, which is like the last year of Caleb Williams' rookie contract, then Pete Carroll's got to retire. That would be so disheartening.
That's why I was saying you need to have a clear plan of succession. You hire Pete Carroll, you hire Joe Brady as assistant head coach, and you groom him for 3 years until he's ready to take over, or somebody of the like. But that's a nor here nor there. But what we're Occam's razor, man. Crimson you dig ain't here today, but he loves this. The simplest answer is going to be the right one, and it's either going to be Ben Johnson, and if they strike out on Ben Johnson, I can bet you any money Mike McCarthy is getting a 2 to 3 year deal, and they're going to basically say, do your best with Caleb.
They have to match it with Caleb Williams' rookie contract, right? So it's a 4-year deal with a 5th-year option, right? You have to sign a 3-year deal for this head coach. You have to do a 3-year deal. And
might not be alive in 4 years, this fat fuck.
I know he's going to, if we're talking about Mike McCarthy, he's definitely going to kill himself via eating at Portillo's. I'm absolutely on board for saying that. So, but the correct way to do this, I don't know if you really want to talk about Ryan Poles at this point because that ship has sailed, but I'm happy they kept him because now it should not allow anyone to say, well, Caleb Williams wasn't my quarterback. That's why I like the idea of Ben Johnson too, because you could quite simply say fuck off if he's just bad because he's unproven, right? Again, link Caleb Williams and his rookie contract to whatever Ryan Poles is doing and whatever this new head coach is. If those three don't work, blow it the fuck up, sell the team, and that's it. But you have the quarterback. If you can't do it with this quarterback, you might not be able to ever do it.
Yeah. I mean, Virginia will be a spry 106 by then, so she'll still be kicking around.
Maybe she's a vampire. I don't know what's going on with her, but
yeah. One more thing that I had an observation of, because of how the Patriots handled their situation with letting go of their GM and their coach and having a quarterback that was not drafted by this GM and this coach, you now have a simultaneous fork in the road parallel between your team and the Patriots. Let's see how it's done with one franchise, and let's see how it's done with the other, because right now you have a identical fork in the road moment and they're being handled completely differently. This will be a great example of how NFL franchises should be run side by side.
Yeah, that's a really good way to put it. I mean, I don't know how to phrase this, but the Patriots have this weird way to say if Drake May doesn't work out, they have something to fall back on as far as Joe Milton. I think the kid actually has talent.
Me too.
But whatever the case is, I think it's going to definitely be, you watch it. I hope that we don't talk about how the Bears missed out on Vrabel by some incompetence or something of that nature. Maybe that's true, but I genuinely think that the only reason Mike Vrabel took an in-person interview with the New York Jets was to really put the pressure on the Patriots to fire Gerard Mayo and allow Mike Vrabel to come home. Because in that sense, I don't think that anyone had a chance at Mike Vrabel except Robert Kraft and the Patriots.
Could not agree more. Chad, I don't know if that's a DM thing that you have going on with Carl, but please feel free to give us insight and an insider info.
Yeah, send it over, Chad. Feel free in your Twitter DMs.
Moving on. Finally, we're getting into the games. Love Saturday, Sunday football. Just fucking rocks, dude. Good football all day long for 2 straight days. Texans, Chiefs. I've hinted towards my feelings about this. Now, I will not have the balls at all to predict the Texans, but I do predict a closer game than most. I'm going to say 23-20 Chiefs.
23-20?
23-20 Chiefs.
While I could see the Kansas City Chiefs offense laying an egg, and by laying an egg, I mean just not lighting the world on fire, right? Because they're so talented. They might come out flat after being off for 3 weeks. God knows what was going on between the massage people and Patrick Mahomes. Bad joke there regarding Deshaun Watson. I think that I would be very surprised if the Kansas City defense lays an egg. I actually think that I saw Steve Spagnuolo had a head coaching interview with the New York Jets, which is crazy to think because I thought that he was untouchable, and I still think that he is. But I cannot see the Chiefs giving up more than 17 points just because of that situation at home against a second-year quarterback who's regressing. Would I be surprised if the Texans beat the Chiefs 17-14? No, but give me like a 20 or 24 to 17 scoreline with the Chiefs winning pretty much all day.
All right. Yeah, I think whatever Washington magic is there, the Chiefs have it times 5. So I see a 20-20 game or 20, going in, and it triple doinks, bounces off something and goes inside. Chiefs win 23-20 or something like that. So that's how I look at that game. Still going to be great. ABC 3:30. Fuck yeah. Just love it. God, I love football all day. You start. We got the Saturday night game. Commanders at the Lions.
This is a game that I might not watch. I don't want the Lions to win in any capacity, but I just can't stand Jaden Daniels and those Redskins. I expect a shootout, unfortunately. I mean, that this is, you like the word vibes? Talk about vibes. Dan Campbell's not punting in the playoffs at home. Dan Quinn, probably not punting against a team where he feels like his quarterback is the best offensive player out of all. How many players are we talking? 44 that would start. So, I don't know, man. I'm going to take the Lions just because I don't see how they could potentially lose given all things considered. But this could very well be a 50-49 game, man. This could be a crazy shootout. For the neutral, for someone who maybe doesn't have a football team and they just like watching football, this might be the best game of the 4.
Interesting.
It's gonna be fireworks.
Interesting. I don't see it like you do. I will say one thing. I do think that Detroit getting home field is good for them. It might have backfired in this case. I feel like Washington in a dome is the last thing that they wanted to see right now. I think Philly wouldn't have been as scary in a dome. They play a certain way. The Rams in a dome probably wouldn't be as scary. Washington in a dome is like just their kryptonite right now. It's just perfect.
Oh, who's kryptonite? The Lions?
The Lions. I think, like you said, it's conducive to the Redskins having a better game than if they would have playing against Philly. Like Philly, Washington in Philly, I would have taken Philly by 1,000,000. And then the Rams, Lions in Detroit, I would have taken the Lions by 1,000,000. This is a perfect storm of shit and weird luck and black voodoo magic, whatever, right? Like dark magic, black magic. You know what I'm saying? Like it's just going to be a perfect shitstorm of shit that's going to go weird and wrong. And like you said, it's going to be some weird fucking thing. I just hope that Dan Campbell goes like, if that kid is walking around at the end of this fucking game, I'll eat your ass. Because they need to knock fucking Jaden Daniels out. Like, that's the way.
Yeah, hopefully these third stringers for the Lions will prevent any outside noise from the media controls in New York for the NFL. If they're screaming in their headsets while they're trying to make a tackle, don't hit him, don't hit him. Maybe they realize that they won't be able to feed their family because they won't be able to get a contract if they don't play well in this game, and they'll actually tackle the motherfucker like they should. So that I'm all for that point, right? But what I was going to say regarding the kryptonite is, I guess I disagree with you because I don't know how good little Marshawn Lattimore played against the great Mike Evans. I don't think he shut him down like how Saints fans would have told me he would have. But when you're looking at a Bobby Wagner, is Bobby Wagner's strength at his 50th year on this earth, is he better at pass defense or run defense? He's better at stopping the run. So if the Lions are forced to set up, and they're getting David Montgomery back too, they get their 1-2 punch. I hope to God that David Montgomery is not going to ruin his career by getting a catastrophic knee injury and turning down surgery to help a team win its first ever Super Bowl. Very admirable job, guy. I appreciate you for all you did for the Bears. But the Lions are going to throw the football. And I don't think that the Redskins defense is set up to stop the pass. So, I don't know, man. I think that we're going to see fireworks. I love Cliff Victoria's comment there. Put a spy on Daniels. He's a running quarterback first. That is fact. I'll see if I can get some football insights popping here.
Real
Jaden
quick,
Daniels has
random.
the highest scramble rate ever.
That's good to know because I hope he gets fucked up. I had a random thought of what's that?
You said I hope he gets fucked up, and I mean I agree, man.
Yeah, I
we
hope
talk
he
about the
gets
Packers
truly
players
fucked
getting
up.
hurt. I don't want Jaden Daniels to get hurt, but
Yeah, don't care. I don't care. Injuries
Oh,
are
by
a
the-
part of the game. Fuck them up.
some guy was chatting on me on Twitter about calling them the Redskins. Go look at the Redskins when they score a touchdown in Tampa Bay. I see the fucking Redskins logo. The fans want their team back. Don't at me.
Yeah, fuck off. It's just I've been watching football for 25 years. 23 of them was the Redskins. Give me a fucking break. I'm not calling them the commies.
What are they called? The Dirty Hogs? Their great offensive line they had when they were going to Super Bowls? Like,
They were called the no, not the Dirty Hogs. Now you got it in my head and now I can't think of what they were called.
something about hogs, I swear to God.
No, yeah, it was the Hogs. It was the
Cliff, you should know this.
God damn it.
But they were like going to like Soldier Field
I
to
think
play the
they're-
Bears in the playoffs.
No,
and
I
stuff,
remember
you know?
this. Yeah. Fuck. Yeah, now it's gonna drive me crazy.
But whatever the case is, like that's the Redskins, man. Don't fuck this shit up because you're sad about something that no one else
I had
is.
a random observation, random thought, by the way. This worries me about Ben Johnson and the system of it all and just the thought process. How's Jamal Williams doing after breaking an NFL record of like 17 rushing touchdowns 2 years ago?
Right. So are you comparing him to Montgomery?
Kinda. Like does it really
Montgomery's got
matter?
more talent, but you're not far off. Now, I love to make this joke, right? Because a lot of Lions fans will tell you that Barry Sanders is better than Walter Payton. I don't know if you agree with that, but I think it's bullshit.
No,
I didn't watch
not
either of
even
them
close.
play in real life in their prime, right? What if I said Jahmyr Gibbs is better than Barry Sanders? Am I that wrong?
Talent wise, who knows? Maybe not.
Kid's fantastic. I dogged on them for that draft class, right? Jahmyr Gibbs followed up by Jack Campbell. Oh, you guys suck. No,
Jack Campbell was objectively a fucking shit pick. That
Right.
guy is a 20th best linebacker in the league. That makes no sense.
They're happy that they have him right now because they're playing guys off the street. They literally signed Jamal Adams to play linebacker for them because of how fucked up their injury situation is. But the first pick, Jahmyr Gibbs.
Yeah.
Jahmyr Gibbs is better than Bijan Robinson. Full stop. This kid is special. So if the Redskins can bottle him up then and make them one dimensional somehow, some way, maybe they got a chance. All I'll say to that is good luck.
Yeah. Next game, Rams, Eagles. I'll start with that one. It's going to be a mind fuck to me, but I feel like the Eagles are just going to kind of show the one-dimensionalism that they kind of just are. I think Jalen Hurts has regressed more than any quarterback in the league in the last 2 years. He went from like 40 touchdowns and, 10 interceptions to whatever
which
the
quarterback?
fuck Jalen Hurts.
Okay, yeah.
I think he's regressed more than any quarterback in the league in the last 2 years, probably. And if you are that one-dimensional and you know what you're doing as Sean McVay, I think I have to. This is going to be my first upset pick of the week. I think I'm going to go Rams because they're going to make Jalen Hurts a little bit more one-dimensional. And like you said, that line is hitting its stride at the right time. I think that defense is going to do enough. And then I think what Chad is saying, Eagles win 17-14. I see that exactly the opposite. I think it's like a Rams winning 17-14. And I think the Eagles offense sputters on them. I think the defense will do great. But Sean McVay can take advantage of the rookies that they're starting, take advantage of the Zach Vaughn of it all. The Eagles are not doing anything in my mind that Sean McVay hasn't seen before, and it's not scaring him. So I'm going to take the Rams here in like a 20-14 kind of victory. If I have to pick, it's obviously, I just don't want to go all chalk here, if I'm being honest. And I think the Rams are going to be that one crazy team.
Yeah, I don't even. I picked the Lions, right? So we got that.
I do
sorted
think,
out.
for the record, I do think the Eagles are a better team and they should win. I think it's going to be the McVay of it all.
Yeah, no, this won't be the best game as far as a viewing spectacle, but I think this will be the closest game. Um, but I thought that the Eagles could have scored a lot more points against the Packers last week. And as I had mentioned with Sean McVay being able to galvanize his football team with a tragedy, I think that wears off. I don't think you can use that twice in a row. And going into Philadelphia is a little bit different than playing a pseudo home game in a dome at Arizona. I'm going to take the Eagles, but I would not be surprised either way. I genuinely can't give you a score, man. I think it's just going to be a really close game. I don't think it'll be super fireworks. It feels like the Eagles' secondary is the strength of their defense and maybe even their team at this point. No, that's a lie. Their offensive line is just better. But their secondary, I think, could, in a roundabout way, slow down the fantastic Rams passing offense. And then we're talking about Kyren Williams having to carry the load against the talented Eagles defensive line. And Zach Bond, like you said. I don't know. I think it'll be the Eagles. I just think it'll be really, really close.
I'm with you there. I just had to pick something, and I'm gonna take a little bit of a risky comment here and just say go Rams. You start us off with the best game of the week, in my opinion. I mean, you said it might be Commanders Lions, but I'm gonna go with Ravens Bills in Buffalo, 5:30 Sunday.
Yeah, I guess I won't step on my feet regarding the closest game. This game has the potential to be the closest, but I'm going to be a Lamar Jackson hater one more week. Again, just prove me wrong, guy. You've got all the weapons in the world, but I think it's Josh Allen's MVP, man. And I know that anything that happened last week and anything that happens moving forward has no ifs, ands, or buts regarding the MVP conversation. It should already be finalized. But I think that it's Josh Allen's MVP to lose, and I think he'll prove it. I think simply just for the fact that the Bills are at home is enough for that team to beat the Ravens. But genuinely, as far as a quarterback, I think that Josh Allen is a better quarterback, better football player, maybe not football player, better quarterback than Lamar Jackson. And I think that the Bills will be able to beat the Baltimore Ravens by at least 2 scores.
That's a bold choice. So we're going with Bills for Carl.
Agreed. It's bold.
I think at the end of the day, both teams are good, not elite everywhere else, and it will come down to which quarterback plays better. And at this point, I have seen less mental midgeting from Josh Allen than I have from Lamar Jackson. Like you said, it's a put up or shut up game for Lamar. Prove it. And Josh Allen just he doesn't fold. He steps up during big games, and I've seen many examples of Lamar Jackson folding at this point, to the point where, like you said, prove it, buddy, because I don't believe it before you prove it. So I'm going with the Bills as well. So the only way we differentiate here is Rams Eagles. Otherwise, should be a fucking awesome football Sunday. Any closing comments from you, Carl?
I think that I found the piece of data. Again, this is courtesy of Football Insights. So what we're looking at right here is the pressure to scramble percentage, I think. So let me see if I can zoom it in so you can really see, okay? A lot of people, including myself, would have labeled Justin Fields not as a running back, but as a running quarterback, okay? What I'm getting confused on is that Jaden Daniels was only pressured 76 times. So Josh Allen was pressured 172 times. Just that alone. Russell Wilson, 212 times. That's crazy that his offensive line really didn't allow him to get pressured that often. But we're seeing the percentage. So on a percentage, if Jaden Daniels gets pressured, he just fucking runs. The paint by numbers offense. Shout out to J2K. I love that comment from you, J2K. If Jaden Daniels doesn't have his first read wide open and he's pressured, he's running. So essentially, that's what I feel like Jaden Daniels is lucky in a sense, because we're talking about one good tackle. And I don't know if I'll be able to find this fast enough, but there's a fantastic article that I think was released by some sort of NFL reporter or a Washington-based outlet where they said, did the Colts regret passing on RG3? And there was a picture of RG3 and Andrew Luck shaking hands. In my opinion, time's a flat circle. History repeats itself, whatever you want to say. Let's have Caleb Williams have his shot with his head coach. Hopefully the Bears nail it, and we'll see really how good Jaden Daniels is moving forward. It's not a one-year thing, right? just because he got all those silly little player of the weeks, rookie of the weeks, that doesn't make him the MVP or anything. We're seeing some playoff success, but let's see what he does against a good team in these playoffs.
Sweet. I think we're good to end there for this week. We always have less to talk about, but somehow keep going longer and longer. 144 today. So thank you for everybody in the chat. As always, it's always consistent. It's always at that 20 mark at this point, and we love everybody here, and it's always the same faces and the same names. So thank you for all support. We just enjoy talking football with you guys and talking football with each other. Yeah, that's all I got to say about that one, Carl.
Coolest thing today was having that Texans fan stop by. So again, if you guys have gotten to the point, if you've listened for the whole hour and 45 minutes and you're at the end of this and you're not a Bears fan, what are you doing? Leave a like, subscribe to the channel. It's really cool to be able to interact with you guys that are not Bears fans, because I'm not going to shy away from it. I like to look at things through the Chicago Bears lens, because that's what the fan base, not fan base, but the fans of the channel, everyone in the chat, that's what we're talking about. But it would add to the discussion, right? That's what I'm looking forward to, is being able to have these conversations with a Raiders fan who isn't attacking me. Let's talk about how Ben Johnson you think is a better fit for Las Vegas than the Raiders. I've had fantastic conversations on the Bears Country Productions channel with Redskins fans. They say, yeah, I want my team back. I want to be called the Redskins. Having that interaction with someone that has a different point of view is so cool. It's so much fun. And that's why I enjoy talking with you as well, Dave. So kudos to you. It's been a fantastic show. I enjoy it each and every week, and I'm looking forward to it next week.
Me too, man. Hopefully we get some more coaching news. Usually it doesn't happen about till the 20th-ish.
The rumor mills are suggesting that in the next 7 to 10 days, there's going to be some real movement. There's going to be one domino has fell, kind of. Mike Vrabel was a foregone conclusion, in my opinion. But once Ben Johnson going to be like the LeBron of this cycle? It's him and then everyone else? I'm not too sure. But I think in the next 7 to 10 days here, we're going to start to see some movement. So definitely make sure you guys tune in next week, because we'll be talking about that. But yeah, it's exciting. It's an exciting time, man.
All right, man. Go football. No Bears. I want to get a Rob Lowe NFL hat. And yeah, that'll be.
He's a bit of a weirdo for that. I know what you're talking about, man. I don't like him as like an ambassador of the game, but it's fun.
Oh, that dude sucks. I just thought it was funny. But go football. Go football. No Bears. It's all good. Cliff Victoria, we'll answer you next week. I don't think Tom Brady's enough to entice Ben Johnson, but you never know. So
Cliff Victoria, have you been watching those Thy and Smile shorts? Because that's the point that I made. But
there you go. All right, guys. See you next week. Thank you, everybody, and we'll see you next time. Take care.